Hello underachievers! So quickly before we get into the video, I just want to remind you guys that my brand new song La 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 is out now. If you want to watch the music video for that, or if you want to stream it, the link for that is below. And just some quick context for people that maybe don't know me or haven't seen my videos before. I am trans. I feel like it would be a bit weird if I wasn't, and I was making this video. But yeah, the video today is about slurs, and I myself have been called slurs in real life and online. I've been hate crimed in real life and online. That's something I've had to deal with as a trans person. The video that we're reacting to today is by Cut, which is a channel that I watch quite a lot. I think they have some pretty interesting videos. Before we get into the bulk of this video, I'm not here to make like a moral statement or like rate if this video is okay or not. It's insane to me, and I understand it was made, but the video we're gonna be showing you today is this video by Cut, where they get a bunch of trans people in front of a camera and they just call them the T-slur. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it. I'm not gonna say it in the video because it's just gonna be bleeped out anyway, but it sounds like fanny, but with a T and an R in the front. Okay, we got that. My relationship with this word has been very interesting. Initially, when I first came out, I was saying it all the time. I was saying T-slur this, T-slur that. I just had a T-slur haircut and wearing my T-slur hat, wearing my T-slur sock, just because I was like, look, you know, I've hated this aspect of my life for so long, and now that I'm able to come out and finally be happy, I'm just gonna embrace it. I'm gonna reclaim it because people call me it anyway, and you know, I'd rather call myself a slur than have somebody else call me a slur in the aims of being mean. Nowadays, I don't really tend to use it. It kind of gives me the ick, and nothing major has changed in my life to make me feel like that. I just think, you know, I don't need to be saying slurs around people that don't want to hear slurs. But yeah, this video today, I cannot tell you where I stand morally on the video. I just thought it would be a fun video to react to on camera because I think I've seen it before, but it's been out for 7 years, so I do not remember what anybody said. And I'm sorry for so many disclaimers. I do just want to say that Cut has made some really good videos about trans people. You know, they've been informational, they've listened to trans people's experiences, so I'm not viewing this as like a horrible thing that a company has done. It's just insane. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, like, what did they, like, how did they get people for this? Did they just send out emails being like, hey, you trans, come film a video, we'll pay you for it, we'll give you $100, we won't tell you what we're doing? Because surely to get the appropriate reaction that Cut want, which is like one of surprise and the immediate thought that comes to somebody's mind when they're, you know, called this word, I feel like there's no way to set this up without maybe some trans people being a bit like, okay, so yeah, sure, you're paying me to be on video, but you're just paying to call me a slur on camera? I don't know. I would love to hear from the people that are in this video. I would love to know what the casting process was and how much information people were given. I don't know. I mean, if I was brought into Cut and I was part of this video, I would just laugh, but I'm sure that there are a bunch of trans people that are very triggered by that word, so sorry. Let's go. We asked transgender people to do word association on camera. These are their responses to me.
That's f***ed up.
So hateful. That word just seems so negative to me. It's always been, whenever I've heard it, it's always been used in such a negative way.
Hate.
I just like, what do I take from this video? I understand. I understand the use of the video. I guess you could say that this video could potentially be useful because it shows cis people the real impact of the use of this word on trans people, and maybe if you called a trans person that word in real life, they wouldn't feel able to explain to you why you shouldn't call them that, because I do know that it happens a lot, which is surprising to me, and I don't know how people think this. I know that a lot of cis people don't realize that that word is a slur, and that it's like negative to say that to somebody. I'm sure maybe these people just assume that it's just a shortening of the word transgender, so that it's not hurtful, but it's the same of like calling a homosexual person a homo, I guess. It just feels different.
You need to be educated and you need to think before you speak. There's nothing shameful about being transgender, and trying to sexualize and demonize people for who they are is a terrible thing to do to people.
Yeah, that's also an interesting thing, and I didn't think about that at any point in this video until now. That word is incredibly sexualized. I think a lot of the time it is mostly used against trans women. I feel like that's the majority of the cases, but that doesn't mean that trans men and non-binary people aren't called that slur. But that is interesting, because like if you go on any website, there is a category with that slur, or a variation of that slur, or like she-male, or anything like that. And it definitely contributes to the sexualization of trans women, but it definitely must contribute to like this idea of trans women being predators, because they think that being a trans woman is inherently sexual.
Sad when people use it in a derogatory way.
It just makes me really sad for them that they live in such a confined world. They never have experienced the diversity of all of the people around them.
That's also something I never thought about. I don't relate to that. I don't feel sad for people that call me slurs or call other people slurs. I guess it is obviously very sad that people are raised to not be kind to other people just because they're different to them. That's obviously very sad, but I never really thought about the experience of the person being raised in an incredibly toxic environment full of bigotry. Because obviously if you're raised to believe that trans people are freaks, it must be really confusing that, like, the world thinks you're a bad person for thinking trans people are freaks, because, like, that's all you know. But I don't know, I don't really feel bad for them. Like, yeah, boo-hoo, you're raised to think trans people were freaks, but that has real consequences on real trans people. And I literally just had this memory pop up just now that, like, the first time I think I ever knew what a trans person was, or I experienced thinking about what trans people were, was literally in my school. We just came out of the girls' bathroom, and a bunch of girls in my class were giggling, and I was like, what's funny? And they were like, there was a tranny in there. And that was my first exposure to that word, and my first exposure to, like, trans people. So I'm trans, and the first time I heard anything trans-related was the slur. Like, that's insane, but that's, like, incredibly f***ed up as well. Like, so many people will grow up and have, like, absolutely no experience with trans people. They'll never have met one, or they'll think that they've never have met a trans person. And so, like, the only space that trans people hold in their head is this word, because that's all they've heard.
Slur. Nothing good comes out of that one. I think that's one of those words that was meant to be sort of cute and nicknamey at first, and then got really offensivized.
I don't actually know if that's true. Does anyone know where that word came from? I mean, apparently it used to be... I'll take this with a grain of salt, because this is what my dad told me, and I don't know what it was like back then, but he was like, when he was growing up, that word was used to refer to transvestites, as in men that cross-dressed. I think a lot of the time back in the day, people would just group queer people in the same category because they didn't understand at all. So, like, I would be in the same category as, like, a woman that enjoys dressing as a man, or a man that enjoys dressing as a woman, as well as being in a category of other trans people like me.
Offensive.
It's just a definition of someone who isn't born in the correct body.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I would not say that the D slur is a definition for trans. Next.
Its kind of main intention is to other people, and to make them appear less human to everyone else around. And I wish we didn't have words for that, you know?
Disgust. I have a lot of feelings about this word as someone who's had it thrown in my face. And pretty much all of them are very negative. I am one person who will never use that word, even to, like, I guess, take it back as my own or anything like that.
I have no emotional attachment to it because it hasn't affected me.
I suppose indifferent. It depends on the context. So just hearing the word doesn't really affect me deeply.
Yeah, I feel like my relationship with the word has changed over time, as I said. I think initially I used it so much that I didn't view it as a negative thing. Obviously, I wouldn't go around calling people that if they didn't want to be called it. But, like, my association with the word was just like, oh, we're just these weirdos. We're just these weirdos. I'm gonna put my T-Slur shoes on. I'm gonna put my T-Slur hat on. You get what I mean? It felt like I was using it as a term of endearment. And it's really interesting how different I feel about it now.
Derogatory. It's just one of those things. You learn to dodge the rotten tomatoes and get on with your life. Eventually, I learned to really despise the word until I met somebody who used that word to identify. They said, I'm a and I couldn't argue with that.
Yeah. So that is how I felt. I think that is something that at least I used to relate to. I don't know how I feel about it now. But yeah, I would, like, self-identify as a T-slur. It feels weird to not say it, but it's just gonna be bleeped out anyway. But yeah, I mean, I used to identify as a and it was never a negative thing for me, because at the point that I was calling myself that, I wasn't comfortable with my body or the way that I looked, but I was comfortable with the fact that I was trans, and I think I only ever started calling myself a when I reached the point of not being incredibly embarrassed by the fact that I was trans. It's interesting that my association with that word is, like, I first heard it it was just confusing. I didn't understand it, but it seemed bad. It seemed like the people in my class thought this trans woman was a freak. That was my first association with it. And then when I learned more about trans stuff, it was terrifying. Even thinking about the word transgender, that was terrifying, let alone the slur. And then eventually it got to the point where I just like had to like admit to myself that like, yeah, you're trans, bro. You've been feeling this way since you were 4 or 5. You can't run from it. And then I had friends around me who were also trans or who were supportive. And then when I actually started feeling like that was an appropriate way to refer to myself, it was only because I had reached a level of self-acceptance that I had never had before. So it is interesting how like one word can have such a different impact on different people. And that's not to say that like just because you're okay with using that word to refer to yourself that you should refer to other people with that. But yeah, I mean, like, I remember back in the day when I'd be calling myself that all the time, I would get comments of people telling me that it made them uncomfortable that I called myself that. And I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, I am using this word to refer to myself. And I literally just used to say to people like, hey, you don't like that I call myself that? Then don't look at my videos. It was the same with like, I call my top surgery tits. Like, I'm like, I got my titties. No titties, I got my titties chopped off and now I have actual titties. I would not call my boobs titties until I got my top surgery. And I've had several people being like, it makes me really uncomfortable that you call your chest titties. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I'm not gonna change how I refer to myself in my own space just because you don't like it. Interesting word. I thought I'd be laughing more at this video because the idea is insane, but I kind of understand why they've made it. It is helpful to hear these opinions and these experiences of trans people, but it's just the casting process, really. Like, what were these people told? Maybe they were told like, hey, we're doing this thing, we're gonna film your reaction to a word, it's a word association game, and everybody that's coming is trans. So maybe they had an idea, but I'm sure some of them didn't. It's just, it's weird.
It feels okay. Sometimes I think about the histories of queers before me and how is something that's in there somewhere.
So this is interesting to me too, because this person used the word queers to refer to other queer people, and like, queer used to be a slur, and it still is a slur to some. I guess there's not really a very easy line to say when something is a slur and when it stops being a slur. But yeah, slurs. I cannot tell you there is nothing more annoying than seeing slur discourse on my Twitter timeline. Like, the amount of people that I've seen say that bi people can't call themselves fags because they're not gay. Ridiculous! It's not like a homophobe is walking down a street and sees 2 guys holding hands and thinks, wait, I was gonna call you a fag, but I just need to make sure first that you're only exclusively attracted to men and not into women as well. I think we have way too many arguments about words in this community.
Empowering word. Maybe that's because of the history I've had with the word, as it being used as a derogatory word for me, that I've taken it and kind of used it for my own empowerment. I define myself as a and not that this is my ultimate goal, but I hope that it takes power away from the people who want to use it in a derogatory way.
And I think that's badass. I think that's really badass. I wouldn't like introduce myself as like a well, I wouldn't introduce myself as trans anyway, regardless of the situation. But I think it's cool that somebody can go through something so difficult in association with that word and then use it against the people that were using it against you in the first place. I think that's cool.
Unintentional compliment. I both feel insulted and like praised when I hear people call me that at the same time. It's just like, damn right.
I get that. I think it's the kind of thing, like, if somebody comes up to me and tries to call me that, I'm like, yeah, and what about it? What are you gonna do about it? You're angry about me not being a girl? Like, that makes you angry? I think, yeah, that makes sense.
It's like being called bro. I love being called bro. It's like, that's like one of the highest compliments you can give me. I'm like, yeah, my people are fought hundreds of years of oppression and still turn out fabulous all the damn time. Yes, I am.
Tell him. Tell him. I mean, that was the video. Sure. That was, I had a lot to say. I found that more interesting than funny. I am very interested about the comments on this video. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with some of the stuff I said, if you agree with some of the stuff they said. What do you feel about the video? That was interesting to me. I thought this was just gonna be me laughing at how absurd it is to just pay a bunch of trans people to stand in front of a camera and be called slurs. But yeah, it's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day or don't. See you later, losers. Bye-bye. And also, if you're not subscribed to me and you watch me regularly, why not? Why not?